Hello and welcome to a new episode of the devlog of Runes of Aereal. So in this episode I'll be implementing together with you this daggers card. So the daggers card here says deal 4 damage for each skill card on your hand, or deal 6 damage or deal 8 damage depending on the level of the cards. So the first thing we'll have to do is we'll have to do some configuration on the card itself. So the configuration of the cards here, you can see that here. So the cost is good, right? It's the level of the cost is 1, so you can see that here. So we're not going to have to remove it after use, but there's also no damage to be applied directly, because this damage, if I were to install this here, cost damage, if I were to put it on values higher than 0, that would mean that it would apply that damage unconditionally. But here it is conditionally. For each skill card on your hand, you do multiplication by 4. So that's the value here. So if there are no skill cards on your hand, so the damage will be 0, of course. So this is conditionally. It has to deal something conditionally. So we're not going to cast damage. So nor do we cast shield, fragile, we don't draw cards, and here it becomes a bit special because we're going to do a special function here. And the one I'm going to give it a name so we can detect it in the code, what we need to do at that time. So I'm going to do, for example, skill multiplier. So the number of skill cards multiplied by a number value. So that value needs to be either 4, 6, or 8, depending on the level. So that's what we say here. So we're not going to discard other cards. We're going to set no venom, no energy, no fire, no lose health. It's not innate and stuff like that. So here we can configure some sounds. So here we see already that we've used quite some sounds. So 19, for example. Let's see what that looks like. Spell 19. Spell 18. No, spell 17. That's not bad. Spell 17. Sold. So I'm going to do spell 17. For now, we don't do any effects. An attack animation, yeah, fine, this one. And an incantation, no. This is a strike card, and the enemy type is any, actually. So I need to see how this is configured. Again, it says nothing, and the target mode is set to all. So no enemy type. So if it would only to be afflicted on birds or werewolf, for example, we'd have to fill this in, but this is not the case right now, and the target mode is set to all. So this is one of the newest features in Construct, where you can drop down these values here, and it's very convenient because at that time you'll see what has been used before and what the possible values are. So great stuff from the guys at Sura. So hintable, yes, this is hintable, and we'll give it a hint. This card will deal damage depending, let's do them depending on the number of skill cards on your hand. Okay, that's it. And then of course we daggers card. For example, this is the loot description. So that's about it. That's great. So the next thing we'll have to do is do the configuration, config JSON, and then we have to say, okay, everything which is in this list are cards that are to be available in the library or are to be available to put on the hand of the player or to put in the stack of the player. So I'll have to add it here, otherwise it won't be available in the game. So everything that needs to be available in the game needs to be in this list. So I'm going to save that out. And then we can go to the probability tables here, and then we can search for all the probability tables that hold cards. These are for scrolls, these are for crafting items, these are for crafting items still, and then some spell books. Here we are, and then here we are. So the merchant cards, I'm going to add that here. Up. Daggers, like that. For now, we just add them with the same value, but later on, oh, not artifacts part. Yeah, okay, that's better. Crafting, spell books in here. This is for the loot of cards. Great. That's what we want. Loot of cards again. Loot of cards depending on the level, of course. This is for level 4. Great. And then I believe I have one more here for the starter cards. So this is great. So these are the starter cards, and I'll do some tweaking later on, because later on I want to be able to choose a different deck depending on the character we're using, and depending on that different deck we'll also have other starter cards. So, but we're not in that phase yet. So let me save that out here. So now we've got this card available in our deck, and we'll start using that card. But before we can do that, we need to implement that. So implementing this card is kind of tricky, because let's go back to the card. Where is it here? No, not here. Here we are. So you'll see here that for each skill card on your hand, in order to execute that card, in order to discern how much damage needs to be done here, we need to check how much skill cards are on our hand. So that's a bit special, because we need to see here, T is for table. It's if the card is on the table, so that's actually the hand here in the current deck. So what we'll do, we go into the cards here, and here in the card event sheet, we already have a number of function card logic to get the number of cards, get the number of playable cards, hide the cards, etc. So I'm going to add another function here to get a number of cards by type. So these types here, we can go into the cards here, and this is the card type. Or is it here? Card type, and this can be multiple items: strike, defense, skill, accuracy, venom, fire, or curse. So these are skill cards. We need to add these skill cards in our hand. So in order to do that, I'm going to copy paste this get number of cards and say get number of cards by type. So it needs to return a number as well, and I'm going to add another parameter for card type, and it's a string. So, and basically it's the same thing here, but in the pick by evaluate, we're going to pick the cards on the table. The current deck needs to be the table, so or the hand, that's equivalent in this game. The hand and the table are equivalent, because theoretically all those card games are like tabletop games. So originally in my template, if you recall, this is based on a template I created earlier, but it's just pimped a whole lot. And there was the current deck was also the T4 table, so just kept that. So the current deck is T4 table, so it's those are the cards on your hand, and then we just need an extra condition here, and the cards dot card type needs to equal skill. That's it. And then we put that as a result, and here we have this extra function now, get number of cards by type. So we're going to need that to determine how much we're going to need to cast. So in order to find where we have to multiply, we have to use that, where we have to multiply that, I'm just going to use a little trick, and I'm going to go to the cards and go to the family instances here. I'm going to do cast damage. I'm going to find all references. And then we see here set for damage, and that's going to be about it. Here we have it. cost card damage. So cost card damage, this is a card, right? So we get that damage. So let's see. If there's a special function, which is the case, but the special function is not called a death, then we take the value from the card's cost special value. Otherwise, we take it from the cost damage. So that's what it says here. So as you recall, for this card, we are not going to use this cost damage here because this is set to 0, 0, 0. This definitely has a cost special function. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check here for this special function to be skill multiplier. So that's the one I used earlier. Else we just need to do that. And if it's skill multiplier, what we do is we just take this value times functions.get number of cards by type of type skill. That's it. So that's I just copied over that. We just set damage to the special value, but we multiply it, of course, by the number of cards of the type skill. That's it. So that should be implemented now. So I'm going to now save that here, and I'm going to use the sandbox to test this thing. Sandbox, here we are. So by adding the card to the configuration, we should have the option that's the starter deck, and then we can adjust the starter deck. And somewhere in here, there should be the daggers. Here we are, daggers card. And we should make sure we have some skills in here. So these are defensive cards, strike, electricity. There's not a single skill in here, so it will always be 0. So let's get rid of a lot of those here. Of course, we'll need daggers. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that's enough. Remove some other ones. And now this is a skill, so chalice. And what's another skill? This is a skill, ambition. Search for some other skills. Here, another one, foul is also a skill. Whatever, doesn't really matter. We should have quite some skills in there, so we can test this shit. Okay, accept it. Now we have some cards. Random 3, and that's too little. Let's say 20, 20, 20. And then we're going to use Achilles. That should be it. And we're going to save that as daggers. Save the current setting, should be in there. Right. So let's check it out, the daggers card. So, of course, we don't have a daggers card. Great. Let's have some shields, not to get killed that easily. Discard.
Enemy turn. Your turn.
Okay, now we have a daggers card. Great, this is a skill, that's 1. This is also a skill, it's 2. And now the daggers card, so that's 2 times 4, should be 8, right? So I'm going to do 8 damage here to this guy here, so it's going to be reduced to 12. Oh, nothing happens. That's peculiar. So that's not working, is it? So let's go to the cards again, and we need to... What are we doing wrong? Card type. No, this is not target mode. It's not all, of course. The target mode is not all. Target mode is not none as well. Here, this is a good one. Target. Should be target, of course. So all would mean that all enemies are inflicted, and it should actually be target, and furthermore it didn't really work. So let's just test that again. What we did wrong, of course. Where is the sandbox? Here we are. Luckily we have this configuration still stored, and we'll start the game.
Fight.
So daggers. Great, says one foul is one skill. So let's apply that to this one. It doesn't work. Alright, so let's debug that thing. In the command functions, cause is it skill multiplier? Let's test that. Skill multiplier, just to make sure, copy paste that thing. Yeah, okay, should work. Special function, yes, should work. So I'm going to do something like debug label append text var damage. Let's do that and see what that gives. No, don't want that sandbox. Daggers, start game.
Fight.
So let's see. It's not doing anything. It's not doing anything, which is interesting. Command functions. So that means we're not getting in there. Right. So I'm going to do something like debug label. Hello? Are we getting in this function? Question. Start game.
Fight.
Oh, so we're not getting into that function at all. So that's interesting. Let's see. Cast card damage. Why are we not getting in there? So move that. No, let's keep it. Is there something wrong with the card configuration still? Let's see. For reference. Hmm. No, that should be all okay. So let's do something like that again. Go into the cards, get family, and then just say, for example, cost damage here. So the hint. So see cost card damage. Okay. So we have this cost damage. Okay, let's see what the problem is. So the problem is when we use the card, this cost card damage is only called then. So that means that only if the cost damage is higher than 0, then we'll do the cost card damage. So in order to circumvent that, we'll just do a little trick. Cost card damage, then we say alright, so okay, the problem lies in the fact that this remains 0. So we put it to 1, then the logic will say it will pass through and use the skill multiplier instead. So that's great. And while we're there, we'll use this here, this little trick again, to go to the hints. And then we'll say, so enemy get damage. Enemy get damage, so enemy get damage as a function. So parameter damage, so it gets parameter damage, enemy get damage. Let's see all the functions. So part damage is here, and we apply damage, and this is for the hint. Okay. So this is checked here. Yeah, should be good. And then let's say enemy get damage here, and that's function. So this is called by the function, and then we do something with get damage, and this enemy get damage gets this base parameter, and it does something to it. Okay. Okay, let's try that. So sandbox and daggers. Start game. Fight. Alright. So how many skills are in here? None. Not a good test. Let's do it again. Daggers. Start.
Fight.
Alright, that's file. Ambition, so there's 2 skill cards. Let's do that. Base damage 1. That's not good. Yeah. So that was 10. Yeah, okay, that was cool. So skill bonus plus 2. Yeah. So that was correct actually. So there's a skill bonus because Achilles has his level 1 attack, so the skill bonus is +2, and we had 2 skill cards. 2 times 4 is 8, +1, but the hint said it wrong. The hint says the base damage was there. So we're gonna have to do a little tweak to the hint. Hint, 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 hint. So the hint says so if it's card, it starts from card damage. So we need to do something like this. So this starts from card damage. So we cards compare instance value. The special. We need to check the card special function equals to skill multiplier. Else. So we're going to move that one here. This is the else branch, and we need to set it here. So instead, what we do, get enemy damage. This is what we need to replace. So this is cast special value times function dot get number of cards by type skill. All right. So we're going to check the skill multiplier, and instead we're going to take the special value instead of the regular one. So some daggers, start the game.
Fight.
So still +2. 1 chalice, so that's 4 +2 is 6. Okay, base damage is 4, which is correct. It's 1 skill. It's 1 times 4 +2. So this one goes to 14. Yes, okay. And then we still say hello 4. So I'm going to have to remove that one here. Let's search for the word hello. And we remove that here. And we move it there. So that's it. I've implemented the daggers card. Simple as that. So I hope you liked it. I hope you learned something. See you next time. As always, please like and please subscribe.